Today's topic is anemia in pregnancy. We are going to discuss about some features of anemia in pregnancy. First of all, anemia in pregnancy is the commonest hematological disease we have seen. And what is anemia? It is the lack of red blood cells, corpuscles, and ultimately causing the decrease in the hemoglobin concentration. That is the oxygen carrying capacity, and to the different tissues of the body, ultimately, which causes the different complications in the body during the lifetime. And it varies according to the age, sex, and the environmental factor. According to WHO, the anemia during pregnancy, the standard which WHO has laid down is the 11 gram. If it is the 11 gram per deciliter, less than 11 gram per deciliter. Normally, the hemoglobin is 12 to 14 gram per deciliter. But if it is 11 gram per deciliter or less, then it is called the anemia during pregnancy. And if it is, WHO has also laid the standard of anemia during pregnancy as if it is 11 gram per deciliter in the first and third trimester, then it is called the anemia during pregnancy. And if it is 10.5 gram per deciliter during second trimester, if it is less than that, then it is called the anemia during pregnancy. And if it is less than 10 gram per deciliter during puerperal period. So it is different in the different period of the pregnancy. Now the incidence. Incidence of the pregnancy, anemia in pregnancy, very much common in our country, like the other developing countries. And the incidence is about 40 to 80% in the tropical countries. And in developed countries, it is about the 10 to 20%. And it is responsible for about 20% of maternal death and a reasonable number of the perinatal morbidity and mortality in countries like ours. Why it is more common in the tropical countries? There are several causes of being common disease in our country like ours, because the faulty dietary technique. Faulty dietary habit like the carbohydrate-rich food, which causes the decreased absorption of the iron. And also, there is faulty absorption mechanism. There is also increased sweating in our countries, and also the pregnancies are more common, and there are much less interval between the two pregnancies. That is the repeated pregnancies, and the number of pregnancies also increased in our countries. And there is also infection like the malaria, TB is more common in our countries, and the excess demand is also in pregnancy. The iron level previously, if the iron storage is less, and also if there is dietary intake is not good, and the fetus causes increased amount of storage, increased amount. The baby takes the increased amount of iron from the mother, even if the storage is not good. So ultimately, the mother suffers from iron deficiency anemia. It has been seen that the iron demand, iron requirement increases about 2 to 3-fold during pregnancy, whereas the folic acid increases the 10 to 20-fold, and the vitamin B12 increases the 2-fold. So the deficiency anemia is the more common in countries like ours in the tropical countries. Now, we can also tell that the women who are more at risk of developing anemia. In countries like ours, and also it has been seen that the women from the low socioeconomic condition and the teenage mothers are more sufferer from the anemia, because in teenage there is also the growth and development requires the iron, and the females who has during their childbearing period, the frequent childbirth, and also the woman who was suffered from menorrhagia before pregnancy due to fibroid, they may be anemic during pregnancy. Now, the classification of the anemia in pregnancy. There are various, yes? Yeah?
I'm waiting at কয়েকজন.
Okay. One person is waiting. Okay. So first of all, what is anemia? Then the anemia, what is called during pregnancy, and now who are the most risk persons for developing pregnancy and anemia during pregnancy, and now the type of anemia. Type of anemia broadly subclassified into two: the physiological anemia and the pathological anemia. We all know that during pregnancy there is a hemodilution. Hemodilution means there is the increased amount of the plasma than the RBC, and the RBC mass or the hemoglobin mass. There is increased amount of disproportionate increase of the plasma to about the 50%, whereas the RBC about 33% and the red cell mass about the 18 to 20%. This causes the physiological hemodilution of the blood. And also, the hemodilution is natural. It occurs at about 8 weeks of pregnancy, and it continues up to 32 to 34 weeks of pregnancy. And also in the second half of pregnancy, there is increased demand of iron for the baby. So due to this combined effect, the hemodilution and the negative iron balance, there is physiological anemia in pregnancy. And the picture is the hemoglobin percentage is less than 10 gram percent, and the packed cell volume, that is the hematocrit, that is the amount of the red cell concentration, it is about the 30%. And the mean corpuscular volume is normal, and here the mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration is 30%. And the serum ferritin level is also normal. And if the peripheral blood film is done, the morphological features is also normal. This is the typical picture of a physiological anemia. Now the pathological anemia, which is again subdivided into various groups, such as the deficiency anemia, deficiency due to iron, deficiency due to folic acid, deficiency due to vitamin B12, or the combined deficiency or protein deficiency. Next, the hemorrhagic anemia. Hemorrhagic anemia may be in the early weeks, acute hemorrhage due to the abortion, ectopic pregnancy, molar pregnancy. And in the latter part, it may be due to the antepartum hemorrhage. Then the chronic hemorrhage, as occurs in the hook or infestation or gastrointestinal bleeding or bleeding piles, etc. Then the third group is the hereditary anemia. Hereditary anemia may be due to hemoglobinopathies like sickle cell anemia or the thalassemia, or it may be also due to the RBC defect, RBC membrane defect, or spherocytosis. Then the deficiency anemia, bone marrow suppressive effect, bone marrow deficiency, that is the hypoplastic or the aplastic anemia. It may be due to the radiation, or it may be due to the bone marrow suppressant drug. Then it may be due to the chronic next group is the due to chronic infection like TB, malaria, urinary tract infection, etc. Then the chronic disease like nephropathies or the neoplastic disorder. Sometimes the drugs causes the repeated gastrointestinal bleeding like the aspirin or the anticoagulant or the corticosteroids, which may also responsible for the chronic anemia. But among these anemias, the obstetricians are more concerned with the deficiency anemia and the hemorrhagic anemia. So we are going to discuss the deficiency anemia today, about the iron deficiency anemia, folic acid deficiency, and the vitamin B12 deficiency. For iron deficiency anemia, that is also known causes the microcytic hypochromic anemia, and the deficiency anemia of the folic acid and the vitamin B12 also cause the megaloblastic anemia. We all know that. And this is the revision class. I think you have know before about these things. So thus we are repeating the things. And now the iron deficiency anemia. Iron deficiency anemia, this is the deficiency of iron, and it is needed for the hemoglobin concentration. So clinical features of the anemia, in case of the iron deficiency anemia, it differs according to the severity of the anemia. And sometimes it is only diagnosed during the screening, and sometimes it produces symptoms when the anemia degree of the anemia is about moderate degree. So it sometimes it produces, sometimes it may be asymptomatic, and sometimes it produces the symptoms like lassitude, anorexia, indigestion, exhaustion, then the maybe weakness, and also it may the palpitation, then swelling in feet, then shortness of breath, like that. Sometimes the yeah. Yes.
Actually, waiting room.
Okay. After that, then the signs of the anemia, iron deficiency anemia. Sometimes it produces the tenderness in the beneath the skin, then the glossitis, then the angular stomatitis, then it may cause also the koilonychia, and sometimes during the parabdominal examination, we can get the splenomegaly and rarely the hepatomegaly. These are the signs of the rapid turnover in case of iron deficiency anemia, the overfunction and the of the reticuloendothelial system. Now the investigation. Investigation are done in case of anemia to detect the anemia and its degree, to type of the anemia, and the cause of the anemia. To detect the anemia, we should do the hemoglobin percentage, and from the hemoglobin percentage, we can detect the degree of the anemia. According to WHO, the standard he laid down, the degrees are the mild, moderate, severe, and the very severe. Mild anemia, it has been said that the 10 to 10.9 gram percent. Then 7 to 10 gram percent, it is called the moderate anemia, and 4 to 6.9 gram percent, it is called the severe anemia, and less than 4 gram percent, it is the very severe anemia. Now, we have to determine the type of anemia. For the type of anemia, we can also ascertain the degree of anemia by the RBC count or the Paxil volume count. So the degree of anemia can be detected by the hemoglobin percentage and the RBC count and the Paxil volume. RBC count, usually we know that the 4 to 4.5 million, and so usually in case of 3.5 million or 4 million. And also the Paxil volume, usually the hemodilutional effect, 32 to 36%. So in this case, it is less than the 30%. Then the type of anemia we have to detect by the hematological indices, like that the mean corpuscular volume, that is the MCV, mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration, and the mean corpuscular hemoglobin. In case of mean corpuscular volume, the cell size is diminished in case of the iron deficiency anemia, so it is below 75 femtoliter, and normally it is 75 to 79 femtoliter. And now the mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration. The mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration is less than 30%. And the mean corpuscular hemoglobin, as the cell size is also as decreased, so the mean corpuscular hemoglobin percentage decreases, which is less than 25 picogram. Usually it is in pregnancy 25 to 31 picogram. Now we can also have to look at the peripheral blood film, which can give an idea about the type of anemia. In case of the peripheral blood film, in case of iron deficiency anemia, there is hypochromic, microcytic, and the hypochromic. The cell sizes are decreased, and there is pallor. So due to the decrease of the hemoglobin. So microcytic hypochromic anemia. And there is also the variation in the size and the shape. So there is anisocytosis and the poikilocytosis. And we can also can see that the reticulocyte is increased, which indicates the rapid turnover. Now, In case of, we can also have some look about that to diagnose the iron deficiency anemia, that the serum iron usually less than 30 microgram per ml, and as the iron is decreased, total iron binding capacity is increased, and the serum ferritin, which indicates the storage form of the iron, it is decreased. It is decreased about less than 15 microgram per liter. So we can have a picture of the iron deficiency anemia. Now we should have to detect the cause of anemia. For this, we can already having the history and the examination, and which gives us a clue. And now we can detect the cause by some investigation, such as we can have stool RME for the hookworm, to see the hookworm, or detect the helminth or hookworm, and also the occult blood test. We can also do the urine RME for 1 minute. আপা আমি ক্লাস নিচ্ছি। Then we can also have the urine RME to detect the protein, sugar, and the pus cell. Then we can also have the blood for malarial parasite, and for the kidney function test, we can see the serum creatinine, blood urea nitrogen. If needed from the history, and if suspected, then we can do the X-ray test with the facility of Shield to detect any tubercular focus. And last of all, if all the investigations fails, sometimes, but in rare occasion, bone marrow examination may also to be done. So in case of iron deficiency anemia, there are some differential diagnoses for the like infection and the hemoglobinopathies and the nephropathies. These are the differential diagnoses in case of the deficiency anemia. Now we have to see why it is so important, because it may cause some complications. Complications of the mother and complications of the baby. Complications of the mother, according to the severity of the anemia, more in case of severe anemia. The complications are more in case of severe anemia, because sometimes the mild anemia is undetected. And the complications are like, during pregnancy, it can cause the recurrent infection and preeclampsia. And as there is severe anemia, which may complicate like heart failure, and also pregnancy complication like preterm labor. During labor, it may cause the uterine inertia, ultimately the prolonged labor, or it may cause the cardiac failure, or it may cause the postpartum hemorrhage following shock. During puerperium, this is may be the cause of the subinvolution, and ultimately the puerperal sepsis, failing lactation. And the risk periods of during pregnancy are about the 30 to 32 weeks, and during labor, just after labor, or during the puerperium, the first 7 to 10 days, when there is more chance of cardiac failure or pulmonary thromboembolism. In case of baby, it may cause the preterm birth, or IUGR, growth retardation, or the low birth weight baby and its consequences, or it may cause also the intrauterine death. If the baby is born term, then it may be seen that the baby does not usually suffer from anemia, because we have told before that the baby is getting iron from the mother when the storage is not good. Mother become anemic, but the baby takes iron from its mother. So the baby remains as not anemic during the term baby during its birth, but baby may be anemic during its neonatal period. Now we should come about the treatment. Treatment of anemia during pregnancy. It may be prophylactic or it may be curative. Prophylactic treatment. Prophylactic treatment begins before pregnancy. Before pregnancy, the counseling before in the pre-pregnancy counseling period to become the healthy and not to take the pregnancy repeatedly. There should be a gap at least of 2 years. It has been said that at least 2 years is taken to replenish the iron store. Then the dietary prescription. So she should take a good family planning method. Then the dietary prescription. Dietary prescription, the realistic balanced diet, which is rich in iron and protein. She should take the meat, eggs, green leafy vegetables, then the citrus food or the banana, guava, whole wheat, etc. And if there is any focus of the hookworm or to eradicate the hookworm, we have to give treatment before pregnancy. Then also the chronic infection should be treated, and there should not be no chronic infection. And also if there is a history of bleeding piles or the gastrointestinal bleeding, it should be treated. And hemoglobin estimation should be done in the pre-pregnancy period, and it should be continued at the first antenatal visit and also in the 30th week and also in the 36th week to have an evaluation about the hemoglobin level. And if the patient is not so much anemic, the prophylactic iron should be given if it is seen that the storage is form of the iron is not good, the level is not good, and also in case of the multiple pregnancy. Now we have to discuss about the curative treatment of the iron deficiency anemia. Curative treatment also includes the diet, balanced diet, and then the antibiotic for the infective focus, and then now the specific therapy. Specific therapy needs according to the degree of the anemia, gestational age, and the severity of the anemia. Sometimes patient needs admission. Yes?
Ma'am, দুইজন waiting room এ আছে।
আমি তো দিলাম অ্যাডমিট, আর তো কাউকে পাচ্ছি না, আর তো কেউ নেই এখন ওয়েটিং এ।
ঢুকতে পেরেছি।
আচ্ছা। Then about the specific therapy, we have to treat the anemia. So there are various forms of treatment of anemia. Sorry. There may be oral form or parenteral form, or sometimes the degree of the anemia, according to the degree of the anemia, blood transfusion is also needed. And the treatment varies according to the gestational age and associated complicating factors. Now the iron therapy, oral supplementation. In our country, the available forms are ferrous sulfate and also the carbonyl iron plus folic acid plus zinc. These are the forms. Usually in the government level, ferrous sulfate is added to the patient. And it is usually 200 milligram with the elemental form of 60 milligram. And the absorption rate is 10%. So absorbed is 6 milligram. And usually it is given twice daily. Sometimes may be given thrice daily. But it is not given in more dose because it has some side effects like the GIT upset, anorexia, nausea, indigestion, diarrhea. So it is usually given twice daily dose, and the vitamin C is added to increase the absorption. And it is usually given after meal, as the ferrous sulfate form does not need hydrochloric acid for its absorption. Thus, we have to give the oral iron, and it has some disadvantages, but it has some advantages also because it is not used in parenterally. If the patient compliance is good, it may cause the increase in the hemoglobin within few weeks. And when the response is good, which has been seen by the patient's well-being, good looking, good outlook, and then the increased appetite, and the disappearance of the anorexia, and also by the hematological picture that the reticulocyte count is above the previous record, and also the RBC level is increased, hemoglobin level is increased, peripheral blood film is becoming normal. So we have to continue the oral iron throughout the antenatal period, then once daily, and even after the pregnancy is over for up to 3 months to replenish the storage. And sometimes it has been said that the patient does not want the oral form and the patient is non-compliant. So in that case, we have to use the parenteral form. So the parenteral form may be the intramuscular or the intravenous or the intravascular route. Parenteral form may be the iron dextran form at the iron sorbitol citric acid complex. And how can we estimate the required dose? We can estimate that the 0.3 into the weight in pound, and then the hemoglobin deficit, that is the 100 minus hemoglobin percentage of the patient, plus the 50% of the total elemental iron needed for this patient. Sometimes it is diagnosed, sometimes it is calculated as the 250 into the hemoglobin deficit. Sometimes it is calculated the 2.21 into the weight in kg and into the hemoglobin deficit, that is the 100 minus hemoglobin percentage of the patient. And if the patient, it has been said that if the patient weight is less than 70 kg, that is the 35 to 70 kg, and if the hemoglobin is less than 10 gram %, usually it is given the 15 milligram. And if we cannot calculate, but overall, it is seen that it is given. And if the weight is more than 70 kg, that we can give the 2000 milligram. Now, where is the indication of the parenteral? If the patient cannot tolerate the oral iron, patient is not compliant, and if the rapid replacement is needed. That is we told before, that is it depends upon the gestational period. If the patient is approaching towards term, and we have to increase the hemoglobin percentage more fast, then we can give the injectable iron. And if the patient is refractory anemia, that is the response of the oral iron is not good, then we can also have the injectable iron. So it has some advantages. Advantages like it has the correct anemia more rapidly, and small size, there is less chance of anaphylactic reaction, and it is suitable for administration in outdoor department, outpatient department service, and it does not require usually does not require any monitoring. But it has some disadvantages also, because it can cause sometimes it can cause the allergic reaction, sometimes it can cause the staining of the area, and also the abscess of the area, swelling and abscess of the area. And there are some contraindications of the injectable preparation, like during the first trimester, we cannot have to give it, and the known hypersensitivity, who has the known hypersensitivity of this iron, and the anemia, which is not attributed, which is not diagnosed as the iron deficiency anemia. And evidence of the iron overload, if it is there, then we should not use the iron injection. That is, if it is more than 150 microgram, but then we should not, the serum ferritin level, we should not use the injectable iron preparation. Hello, কিছু বলবে? Then iron therapy can be So we have discussed before that the iron therapy, by improvement of the iron therapy, can be evidenced by sense of well-being, increased appetite, increased improved outlook. Yes, কিছু বলছো? Hello. We can also have the points in case of the hematological picture. In oral iron, it has been said that the increase in hemoglobin level is about 0.7 per ml per week and 2 ml per 3 week. But in case of the injectable preparation, it can be up to 1 ml per week, 1 milligram per dl per week. And in case of the oral, it is 0.3 to 1 ml, usually the 0.7 milligram per dl. Now, there are some situations in which we have to use the blood transfusion also. As the treatment of anemia depends upon the severity and the gestational age, blood transfusion is needed when there is severe anemia and the patient is approaching towards term after 36 weeks of pregnancy, severe anemia, and we have to replenish the blood more fast. In that case, we have to use the blood transfusion. And so it has the advantages of the blood transfusion, that it can cause the more blood supply, can cause the increase in blood oxygen carrying capacity, which helps the mother and the baby also, and hemoglobin percentage increases more fast from the hemolyzed RBC. And we can have also the natural content of the blood antibodies and the anticoagulants from the blood, and improvement is expected after 3 days. We can have the picture of a good hemoglobin level even after 3 days. But we can have some blood transfusion hazards. We know that also. And indication are that severe anemia, and if the patient is approaching term and after 36 weeks, and if the patient has any bleeding disorder, but bleeding symptoms in this moment, the acute blood loss, the conditions which causes the acute blood loss, then we have to use the blood transfusion. And during blood transfusion, we have to give a properly cross-matched, properly typed, fresh blood, which is more useful for the patient because it can give the blood antibodies and the blood anticoagulants. But during severe anemia, we have to give blood, we have to very cautiously, because in case it can cause the cardiac failure. So to decrease the overload, we have to give the diuretics during blood transfusion, and we have to give the packed cell volume. Now, the specific therapy, that is the treatment of the anemia. But these anemic patients require some special management during labor. During first stage of labor, the management during the first stage, the patient should be in bed rest, comfortable to her position, and to decrease the overload for the patient. Then we have to give the oxygen inhalation, which will increase the oxygen carrying capacity of the mother and also decrease the risk of hypoxia to the baby. And arrangement for the blood, we have to arrange the blood. We have to give the epidural analgesia to decrease the overload of the mother, and we should maintain the strict asepsis. During second stage of labor, strict asepsis to be maintained by giving antibiotic, and also the cut short the second stage of labor, we should avoid the prolonged second stage by vacuum or forceps delivery. During the third stage, active management of the third stage of labor is to be done, that is the AMTSL, to reduce the risk of postpartum hemorrhage. And the patient should be given antibiotic, and the patient should need the strict vigilance to avoid the chance of postpartum hemorrhage. And the measures to avoid the postpartum hemorrhage and to combat the postpartum hemorrhage, the PPH pack, that is the measures, the drugs should be kept ready. Then following delivery, we have to give the strict vigilance to the mother, and the prophylactic antibiotic can be given. And if the patient needs the cesarean section, a blood can be given, which will help to heal the wound. And also the iron therapy should be continued up to 3 months, that is the 100 days, to replenish the storage. Now, the prognosis. Prognosis during iron deficiency anemia, it has been seen that if the patient is diagnosed early, prompt and effective therapy can give a good prognosis to the mother. And but there is substantial chance of recurrence of this anemia, more in the countries, on the developing countries like ours. And it is contributes to the 20% of the maternal death. Babies, we have told before that the babies near term is usually not anemic, but they usually develop anemia during the neonatal period. And there is a chance of low birth weight and the stillborn, that is the intrauterine death, and also the intrauterine growth retardation. So we have to counsel the patient, and the patient mothers are fully assessed and evaluated from the beginning of the pregnancy. And if the mother and her guardians are so alert that about this situation, so and we can counsel properly for the proper antenatal, perinatal, and the postnatal counseling and the postnatal care, so we can avoid the iron deficiency anemia easily, and the prognosis is good. Next, the deficiency anemia. Among the deficiency anemia is the folic acid deficiency and the vitamin B12 deficiency. Folic acid deficiency, folic acid in the natural food is found in case as folate, and the folic acid is the synthesized form. Folic acid, folate form is absorbed about 50%, whereas the folic acid form, which is the synthesized form, its bioavailability is about the 93%. And natural, we can have the natural the vitamin, this vitamin, the folate, in the green leafy vegetables, broccoli, beans, then the liver, and also in the cereals. And in the folate form, we are supplemented in the medicine. And it is usually seen that during pregnancy, it is the requirement is about the 400 microgram per day. And it is absorbed, the folic acid is absorbed in the terminal ileum and also in the jejunum. And the iron is absorbed in the duodenum. And jejunum, folic acid in the jejunum, and upper part of the terminal, upper part of the ileum, and the terminal ileum absorb the vitamin B complex. So the folic acid is needed. Why it is important? It is important in several cases, like it is needed in the amino acid and the DNA synthesis. So the cell growth and its working depends upon the folic acid. And also it causes the neural tube defect. The deficiency of the folic acid is very important because it causes the neural tube defect. It causes the megaloblastic anemia. And it also causes some other congenital anomalies like the orofacial cleft defect and also the cardiac anomalies in the baby. And these are the causes which are most important for the folic acid. And also it can causes the pregnancy complication like preeclamptic toxemia and the abruptio placenta. So folic acid is very much essential during pregnancy, and its deficiency can causes the megaloblastic anemia. And usually we give the folic acid 0.5 milligram twice daily, that is the 1 milligram per day. But in case of the high risk cases, that is who were have the history of previous neural tube defect, or who are deficiency, in whom the deficiency has been diagnosed, the folic acid is given more, that is the 5 milligram per day. And in case of the folic acid deficiency, we should also give the vitamin C supplementation, and the vitamin B12 also we have to give. And usually folic acid deficiency occurs in case of faulty dietary technique, and in case of the faulty absorption, that is the malabsorption syndrome, and in case of the increased demand, like the multiple pregnancy, multiparous patient, and also the abnormal demand, when there is the red cell breakdown, increase in case of the iron deficiency anemia, for to replenish the iron deficiency anemia. And also it can cause the, in case of infection, there is increased chance of anemia, and there in that case the folic acid deficiency also occurs, and the folic acid is needed to restore the hemoglobin. There are some drugs like anti-epileptic drugs or the methotrexate drugs, which will causes the decrease in the folic acid deficiency. So we have to give the folic acid in this case, and we can diagnose the folic acid deficiency by the features of anemia, the symptoms and signs, and in case of blood picture, we can have the megaloblastic anemia. That is, in this case, the peripheral blood film, the cells are megaloblast, bone marrow, in abnormal cell, the megaloblast and hypersegmented neutrophil, and also there is megaloblast and the Howell-Jolly bodies, and there is decreased platelet count in this case also. And we can also have the serum folate level and the RBC folate level. And by this, we have to diagnose the folic acid deficiency. And we have to give the folic acid in the deficiency state, we have told before, the 5 milligram per day. And in case of the high risk patients, vitamin B12 deficiency usually does not. Another thing is that the folic acid, usually it can be naturally it is stored in the liver for 6 weeks. After 3 weeks, if we cannot replenish the folic acid, after 3 weeks, there is fall in the serum folate level, and it can produce some symptoms. Before that, usually it does not produce any symptoms. And in case of the vitamin B12, it has been saying that 1,000 microgram is in the body storage. So usually during pregnancy, it does not occur. The deficiency does not occur. But sometimes it occurs where there is the faulty absorption, faulty intake, or there is gastric surgery, or there is deficiency in the intrinsic factor, because the vitamin B12 absorption needs the needed intrinsic factor, or there is any surgery in the terminal ileum. In that case, the vitamin B12 deficiency may occur, and we have to give the vitamin B12 by injectable form. It may be given the IM form or diluted form in the IV, about 100 microgram per day or alternate day till its level, serum level. Serum level, when it is the 90 picogram per ml decreased level, then we can tell that the vitamin B12 deficiency. But usually it does not occur. So the deficiency, when the vitamin B12 deficiency occurs, we have to give along with this the folic acid, because both of these are required for the DNA synthesis. So these are the deficiency anemia, which are mainly concerned with the obstetrician, and also the protein deficiency may occur, and the iron deficiency, folic acid deficiency, and the vitamin B12 deficiency. When the deficiency of both of these, iron deficiency and these vitamins, then it is called the dimorphic anemia. Dimorphic anemia cause both this case, the picture may show the normocytes, also the microcytes, and also the megaloblasts. And the RBC count may be normal or decreased. So in this case, we have to give iron, vitamin B12, and both the folic acid. Folic acid usually given to decrease the chance of neural tube defect before pregnancy, 1 to 3 months before pregnancy. And usually it is continued up to first trimester, 12 weeks of pregnancy in regular basis. But if the detection of the high risk pregnancy, it is continued much more. So these are about the deficiency of the vitamins and irons, and we should also discuss about the hemoglobinopathies, sickle cell anemia, and tell us something about that, and we will discuss it in the another class. Any question of yours? Can you hear me? Nusrat?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Any problem? Participants, can you hear me?
জি ম্যাম শোনা যাচ্ছে কথা যাচ্ছে
Okay. Now the any question about regarding this iron deficiency anemia? No. Then we should discuss the hemoglobinopathies, and in another class the sickle cell anemia and the thalassemia in another class. Something about that অল্প কিছু তোমাদের লাগে, ওটা আমরা নেক্সট একটা ক্লাসে করব।
ম্যাম একটা কোশ্চেন ছিল।
জি
ম্যাম ওই যে প্যারেন্টাল আয়রনের ক্ষেত্রে যে ডোজটা যেটা বললেন ম্যাম ওটা
আচ্ছা ডোজ ইউজুয়ালি উই শুড আমরা সাধারণত কিভাবে করি, আমরা করি হলো 0.3 ইনটু weight in pound into deficit, that is the 100% minus the hemoglobin percentage in percent, that is the whether it is 50%, whether it is some 45%, whether the deficit, then plus এইটা দিয়ে তার সাথে প্লাস করব 50% of the requirement, এটার টোটাল যতটুকু হবে তার সাথে আবার 50% দিব তার স্টোরেজ রিপ্লেনিশ করার জন্য। ঠিক আছে, আরেকটা সোজা পদ্ধতি হলো 250 ইনটু হিমোগ্লোবিন ডেফিসিট। আমরা নর্মালি বলছি 14, অনেক সময় আমাদের দেশের জন্য 12 ধরা হয়। এটার থেকে আমার তার পেশেন্টের কত গ্রাম ডেফিসিট আছে সেটা, ঠিক আছে, ইচ গ্রাম অফ হিমোগ্লোবিনের জন্য 250, এটা একটা সহজ পদ্ধতি। আরেকটা বলা হচ্ছে যে আমি এগুলো কোনো কিছুই ক্যালকুলেশন করলাম না, আমি পেশেন্টের বডি ওয়েট দিয়ে আর হিমোগ্লোবিন লেভেল দিয়ে করলাম। তো যদি পেশেন্টের বডি ওয়েট 35 থেকে 70 কেজি হয়, বডি ওয়েটটা যদি 70-র নিচে আর 70-র উপরে, আরেকটা হিমোগ্লোবিন লেভেল সেটা হলো 10-এর নিচে নাকি 10-এর উপরে। আমাদের 10-এর নিচে আমাদের বেশি মডারেট এনিমিয়া নাকি মাইল্ড এনিমিয়া। যদি আমার টার্গেট থাকবে 11-কে উপরে উঠানোর, 11-এর উপরে উঠানোর জন্য, তাই না? তাহলে আমার যদি মডারেট এনিমিয়া থাকে, যদি তার বডি ওয়েট থাকে কম 70-র নিচে, তাহলে আমি কম, সেক্ষেত্রে আমার কম হবে। আর যদি 70-র উপরে হয় তাহলে আমাকে বেশি দিতে হবে। তাহলে যদি বডি ওয়েট হয় 70-র নিচে, তার হিমোগ্লোবিনও হয় কম, তাহলে সেক্ষেত্রে আমরা 15 মিলিগ্রাম পর্যন্ত 1500 মিলিগ্রাম পর্যন্ত দিতে পারবো। আর 70 কেজির যদি উপরে হয় তাহলে 2000 মিলিগ্রাম পর্যন্ত দিতে পারবো। এখন যদি তার দেখা গেল যে 10-এর উপরে আছে হিমোগ্লোবিন, 10-এর উপরে আমাকে যেতে হবে, আমার হলো 10 পয়েন্ট হয়তো খুব সামান্য, আমার 11 বা 12 হয়তো অল্প কিছু দরকার, সে ওরাল আয়রন খেতে পারছে না, তখন তাকে আমি কমাই দিব, 1000 মিলিগ্রাম দিব। আর যদি বডি ওয়েট 70-র উপরে হয় তাহলে 1500 মিলিগ্রাম দিব। ঠিক আছে, তাহলে বডি ওয়েটের উপরে নির্ভর করছে, বডি ওয়েট কতটা আসবে তার উপরে নির্ভর করবে যে আমি কতটুকু তাকে দিব। যদি বডি ওয়েট 70-র নিচে হয় তাহলে একরকম, এবং যদি আমার দেখা যায় যে পেশেন্টের হিমোগ্লোবিন পার্সেন্টেজের উপরে একরকম। পেশেন্টের হিমোগ্লোবিন পার্সেন্টেজ যদি খুব কম হয় তাহলে আমাকে বাড়িয়ে দিতে হবে হিমোগ্লোবিন আয়রন লেভেল 15 মিলিগ্রাম 1500 মিলিগ্রামের জায়গায় আমাকে দেখা যাবে যে 2000 মিলিগ্রাম পর্যন্ত দেওয়া লাগছে। আর যদি দেখা যায় যে আমার যে তার ডেফিসিটটা অল্প কম, তাহলে আমাকে সেক্ষেত্রে 1000 মিলিগ্রাম পর্যন্ত দেওয়া লাগবে। এইভাবে বিভিন্ন রকম ভাবে ক্যালকুলেশন করা হয়। এই আর কি, এটাই বললাম। আর কিছু?
ম্যাম আপনি বলেছিলেন যে 0.7 মিলিগ্রাম পার ডেসিলিটার হচ্ছে এর কারেকশন হবে, এই কারেকশনের লেভেলটা যদি আরেকবার বলতেন।
আচ্ছা, ওরাল আয়রনে দেখা যায় পার উইকে সাধারণত 0.3 থেকে 1, ইউজুয়ালি 0.7, ঠিক আছে, মিলিগ্রাম পার ডেসিলিটার বাড়ে, যার ফলে 3 উইকস পরে আমরা 2 পাবো, 2 মিলিগ্রাম পার ডেসিলিটার পাবো। কিন্তু ওর ইনজেক্টেবল আয়রনের ক্ষেত্রে এটা আমরা 1 মিলিগ্রাম পার ডেসিলিটার পর্যন্ত পেতে পারি। তাহলে ওরাল আয়রনে একটু কম পাবো, তাই না? ওরাল আয়রনে আমরা বলছি যে 0.3 থেকে 1 পর্যন্ত, কিন্তু ইউজুয়ালি 0.7, ঠিক আছে? আর কিছু? এনিথিং মোর? আচ্ছা, আমার মনে হয় মোটামুটি এটুকুই আমরা কভার করলাম। আর যদি কোশ্চেন না থাকে তাহলে আমরা নেক্সট আরেকটা ক্লাসে আবার এটা কিছু আলোচনা করব, ঠিক আছে? দেখি আমি প্যারেন্টাল আয়রনটা আর কোথাও কিছু বলা যায় কিনা। আচ্ছা, প্যারেন্টাল আয়রনটা যেটা বলেছি সোজা কথায় আরেকবার একটুখানি শুনে নাও। প্যারেন্টাল আয়রনটা একটা যদি হয় বলেছি তার ওজন দিয়ে আর তার হিমোগ্লোবিন পার্সেন্টেজ দিয়ে। ওজন হতে হবে 70 কেজি নিচে, 35 থেকে 70 কেজি একটা রেঞ্জ, আর একটা হলো 70 কেজির উপরে একটা রেঞ্জ। আর হিমোগ্লোবিন পার্সেন্টেজের একটা রেঞ্জ, একটা হলো 10 গ্রামের নিচে আর একটা হলো 10 গ্রামের উপরে, কারণ আমাদের টার্গেট আমরা বলছি যে 10 থেকে 11 পর্যন্ত, সেটাই আমাদের মাইল্ড ভ্যারাইটি, তাই না? তাহলে সেই ক্ষেত্রে যদি 10 গ্রামের নিচে থাকে তার হিমোগ্লোবিন, তার বডি ওয়েট যদি 70 কেজির নিচে থাকে, তাহলে আমরা দিচ্ছি 1500 বাড়ি, যে পেশেন্টের হিমোগ্লোবিন 10 গ্রামের যদি নিচে থাকে এবং যদি তার বডি ওয়েট 70 কেজির নিচে থাকে, তাহলে আমরা তাকে 1500 মিলিগ্রাম দিচ্ছি টোটাল আয়রন, টোটাল টিডিআই যেটা টোটাল ডিফিউজেবল যেটা আয়রন দিচ্ছি, আর টোটাল ডোজ ইনফিউশন হিসেবে যেটা দিচ্ছি। আর যদি তার বডি ওয়েট 70 কেজির উপরে যায়, তাহলে আমি দিচ্ছি তাকে 2000 মিলিগ্রাম। এখন যদি তার হিমোগ্লোবিন 10 গ্রামের উপরে যায়, আমার অল্প কিছু বেশি, জাস্ট 11 হতে আমার সামান্য কিছু দরকার, কারণ আমাকে তার, আমি জানি যে তার সেকেন্ড ট্রাইমেস্টারে ডেফিসিয়েন্সি হবে, তার পোস্টপার্টাম পিরিয়ডে ডেফিসিয়েন্সি হবে। প্রোফাইল্যাকটিক্যালিও যদি আমি দিতে চাই, তার কিছুটা আয়রন 10 গ্রামের উপরে যদি থাকে অথবা 10 গ্রাম যদি থাকে, তখন তাকে আমি দিব, যদি তার বডি ওয়েট 70 কেজির নিচে হয় 1000 মিলিগ্রাম, যেটা আমি 10 গ্রামের নিচে থাকলে 15 দিচ্ছিলাম 1500, এখানে সেখানে 1000, আর 70 কেজির উপরে গেলে 1500 মিলিগ্রাম, জাস্ট 500 মিলিগ্রাম কম বেশি, যেটা আমরা বডি ওয়েট হিসাব না করে যদি করি, ওই আগে যেটা 0.3 ইন্টু ওয়েট ইন পাউন্ড ইন্টু ডেফিসিট প্লাস 50% অফ দ্য টোটাল আয়রন, এলিমেন্টাল আয়রন রিকোয়ার্ড, ওইটা যদি না করি, ঠিক আছে? আর কিছু বোঝা গিয়েছে? আচ্ছা, কিভাবে আমরা এই আয়রন ইনফিউশনটা দিই? ইউজুয়ালি ইন্ট্রামাসকুলার দিলে কি হয়, ওই জায়গাতে ব্যথা হয়, ওখানে আমরা বলছি অ্যাবসেস ফর্মেশন হতে পারে, যার জন্য আমরা ডায়ালুট ফর্মে দিই, তাই তো? ডায়ালুট করে দিই আমরা। অনেক দেখা যাচ্ছে যে যদি এটা আমরা 200 মিলিগ্রাম পর্যন্ত, অল্প কিছু পরিমাণ লাগছে, 200 মিলিগ্রাম পর্যন্ত 50 ml ফ্লুইডের মধ্যে দিয়ে দিতে পারি। ওখানে যে একটা সাপ্লাইড কি থাকে 0.9% যেটা ডিএনএস থাকে, নর্মাল স্যালাইন, তার মধ্যে দিয়ে দিতে পারি। যদি আরো বেশি হয় 200 থেকে 400 মিলিগ্রাম পর্যন্ত পেশেন্টের লেগে যায়, তখন অনেক সময় 100 ml। এর উপরেও যদি লেগে যায় 1000 ml, 500 থেকে 1000 মিলিগ্রাম পর্যন্ত লেগে যায়, তাহলে অনেক সময় 250 ml ফ্লুইডের ভেতরে ডাইলুট করে স্লোলি দেওয়া হয়। ঠিক আছে? আর কিছু, এনিথিং মোর? তাহলে কি আমরা শেষ করব? নুসরাত?
জি মিস।
আচ্ছা, তাহলে তুমি আমাকে পার্সেন্টেজটা পাঠিয়ে দিও মেইলে।
জি
ঠিক
মিস,
আছে?
আমি
ওকে ওকে ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ অল। আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম মিস।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম।